Is Parrish, Florida, zip code 34219, a safe place to live? Well, we're going to talk about it, so stick around. Hey everybody, Catherine Newman, and today we're going to dive into, is Parrish, Florida, my hometown that I love and I'm always talking about, is it a safe place to live? Will you feel safe? Will you feel secure? What's the crime rate? Well, we're going to talk about that sort of thing today because I think it's important for you to know if you're looking at this area like a lot of other people are. We have a lot of people moving to Parrish, Florida. And of course, everybody might want to know, is it safe for me to live there, move my family, raise my family there? So let's talk about it. But before we get into that, I would really appreciate it if you would join the craziness here and subscribe to this YouTube channel so I can keep you posted on all of these interesting things that you might want to know about living in Parrish, Florida.
I'm listening.
So let's talk about crime rates in Parrish, Florida. So about 4.2 incidents per 1,000 residents annually places Parrish in the lower risk category. Yay! Now that is compared to most U.S. communities. So that's a good thing for us. It is safer than 74% of cities nationwide, and it's safer than 84% of Florida locations. I'm so proud of us.
I'm proud of you, you know that. I hope you do.
So that was kind of the combined crime rate. So let's break it down a little bit. Let's talk about violent crime. Stop the madness! Violent crime in Parrish 34219 is extremely low. Yeah, I'm reading from these stats here. Around 0.78 per 1,000, meaning, I know I got to break it down for me, 1 in 1,287 chances of being a victim of violent crime. That is coming from neighborhoodscout.com. Now let's talk about property crime. Yeah, property crime. Well, it's also pretty low. 3.45 per 1,000, or a 1 in 290 chance that you will be a victim of property crime, which is well below national averages. So what is the most common property crime that we see here? Well, that would be theft. Now, we do hear about this from time to time. I know that all of the police officers around the county sheriff's office is always putting out posts reminding people to please keep your cars locked. Now, you're like, why don't they have them in the garage? No, remember, in Florida, we don't have basements. We don't have attic space. So our garages become storage because they're only about this big. You can't really fit in a lot of them. I'm just sorry to tell you this. It's just the truth. In a lot of 2-car garages, unless you have pretty small cars, you can't really fit 2 cars plus, you know, your recycle and your trash and your lawn and whatever other kind of junk that you got to store because you don't got it in the house, you heard? But I will say, if you're going to keep your car, one of the cars on the driveway, we only keep 1 car in the garage. We keep another one on the driveway. You have to lock them. So we're always being reminded on social media. And of course, like I said, from our local sheriff department to say, people, please remember, lock your car. So that's what we're hearing mostly when it comes to any kind of property damage, that they're, you know, having incidences of people breaking into cars. A lot of them unlocked, which makes no sense to me. And I know a lot of us grew up in an era, especially I grew up in the South. I grew up in Richmond, in the Richmond, Mechanicsville, Virginia area. And back then, you know, in the late 70s and 80s, a lot of people didn't lock their doors. You know, they could leave their garage open all night and that sort of thing. Well, you just unfortunately can't do that anymore anywhere. I wouldn't recommend that anywhere. I certainly wouldn't recommend it here because we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We got a lot of critters here. You do not want them in your garage. No, you don't. But you do need to make sure that you are locking your car at night so that no one can break in and you certainly don't want to keep important documents or money in your car. I don't know why you would anyway, keeping money in your car. Sometimes people leave their wallets in their car. Sometimes they leave their garage door openers. And I know that many of us have our garage door kind of keyed into our car. But believe me, you really just want to make sure that you lock your car. So that's kind of what we hear mostly. Again, you will hear of higher incidences in some of the other communities. And I will tell you this, we've talked about it before. A lot of communities that are older, maybe that don't, whether they don't have an HOA, they never had an HOA, or they have an HOA that is so much older now, 25, 30 years old, that it's not really a maintained HOA. It's not really a governed HOA. It's very lax. Unfortunately, those are communities that we kind of hear more of that kind of thing, vandalism, theft, that sort of thing. So, and I'm not, trying to sway you between not doing an HOA community or going to a community that definitely has one. As a matter of fact, I just made a video about the pros and cons of an HOA in Florida. So make sure you watch this video so you can find out what the pros and cons are. But in those communities where they don't keep up on that sort of thing, it is more common that you might have some of those issues with theft and that sort of thing. So what is the most common violent crime that we have here in Parrish? Well, that would be assault. Now, from what I understand and what I researched, most of that, unfortunately, seems to be disputes, punches, that sort of thing. Barroom fights. I don't know about that, but that kind of assault.
What is the matter with you?
Or unfortunately, domestic assault. You don't really hear a lot about people just going at it. I have seen people get in a fight at an HOA meeting. But hey, I don't know what level of assault it is. What kind of assault are we talking here? From the most part, I've gathered that it's really just disputes between people. Unfortunately, that still happens. It doesn't really tell you what kind of an age. I don't know if it's like these 80-year-olds, over at Colony Cove, are they fighting it out or what? Or is it, younger people or what? I don't know. But I will say that at least that we don't have really any high levels or even medium levels of like violent crime. And so that's really good. Okay, so what about a crime grade? We're going to get a grade now, right? We're going to get graded. And comparative safety. Well, crimegrade.org gives Parrish, Florida an A+. Pat us on the back overall, including an A+ for both violent and property crime. So again, we just talked about that, but I mean, that's kind of a good rating. That's the best rating you can get, I guess. A+, that's not so bad. So I wouldn't be too concerned about those things if you're thinking about moving here. Now, it does rank, Parrish ranks, in the 99th percentile for safety. That's also good. Meaning that it is safer than 99% of U.S. cities at similar sizes. So, of course, we're not comparing Parrish to, downtown Bronx or to Jersey or to Colorado, to Denver or San Francisco or any of that. We're saying of similar sizes that we're pretty safe. I mean, not so bad. Now, I think this is pretty interesting. The estimated cost of crime per household, they consider to be low at $249 a year compared to nationally $464. So I guess if you were a victim of property crime, that would mean you'd have to fix maybe a broken door, a broken window. Maybe some kid's gone on out there and TP'd your house. Well, that's not really expensive. Oh, but if they toss some eggs at your house, yeah, that might be a little cost to, get that dried egg. I mean, come on, people. Some of you remember TPing an egg in. Yeah, you do. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, look within. So if you're looking at neighborhood safety variations, again, we've already talked about maybe some of the communities that don't have as much of an active HOA, or maybe they've been here a lot longer, a little more run down or not as well maintained or something. Those are the ones that do report higher incidences of things like, well, they say violent crime. I don't think there's any violent crime there compared to other parts of Parrish. And of course, property damage, breaking into cars and that sort of thing. And conversely, a lot of people here have the perception that if you live in a gated community that, you know, you're going to feel safer. And I guess I get that too. I can understand that. I mean, I think if you are, what do they call them now? Bad actors. I call them bad characters. If there's a bad character, a bad actor out there and they're wanting to, you know, go into a community and rob a house or whatever. We did have something like that happened over in Lakewood Ranch. We're going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, that did happen. Somebody was breaking in the house while the people were home in Lakewood Ranch in a nice neighborhood with an HOA, blah, blah, blah. Breaking in the window and the homeowner was there and the homeowner was defending themselves. You know what I'm saying? And well, something happened there. I'm not going to tell you about it. You can look it up. But I will say that I haven't really heard much about that kind of thing in Parrish. I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm just saying I haven't seen it in the news or whatever. But a lot of people, if you are in a gated community, a lot of people have the idea and the perception that you're safe. So if you're one of those bad characters, bad on you, shame on you, shame, shame, shame. You're one of those bad actors that thinks you're going to go have a getaway car in one of those gated communities. Well, you're likely not going to get in. So typically they'll say it's probably someone that's already been in the neighborhood, maybe has access to the neighborhood some other way, unfortunately. But gated communities are something you can think about if that is something that is important to you and you want to have that sense of security that after a certain time during the day, those gates close and you can't just have people come in and out of the community. That is really important to a lot of people. Of course, you know, I always like to ask the actual residents who live here, what is their experience when it comes to safety issues and how they feel secure in Parrish? And this is what they had to say. Their description of Parrish was that it's peaceful and quiet. Now, you're going to hear debate about that. We've talked about that on other videos. And if you haven't listened to some of those videos, definitely subscribe so you can pay attention to those. But of course, you're going to have debate about whether Parrish is quiet anymore. We have a lot of new construction going on here, many new road systems being put in. So it's not as quiet as it used to be when we moved here 11 years ago. As a matter of fact, we were talking the other day, my husband and I, on Friday nights, we like to try to have time out on the lanai and really just talk about our weeks. Because, you know, he's busy, I'm busy, and we'd like to just sit down and talk about our week. And we laughed the other day about, it's so odd here sometimes that Friday nights can seem so loud now with Fort Hamer road traffic and golf course road traffic. And then other Friday nights, it's really quiet out there. No rhyme, no reason, just is what it is. Don't know what that is about. But the locals here think that it's peaceful and quiet, and families report that it is, quote, perfect for raising a family. That's according to bestplaces.net. Now, I think that that's probably true. Again, I can't say much about, as a parent, what that is like because my kids were grown when we moved here and I didn't raise them here. So you have to check with one of those parents. But I do think that from the people that I work with, my sellers, my buyers, they are all reporting good, for the most part, about raising a family here, the things they like about Parrish. Of course, if you check out social media and neighborhood forums, they're all highlighting high homeowner rates, proactive community watch programs, effective law enforcement presence via the county sheriff. So basically, the residents say that yes, Parrish is safe with excellent low crime metrics across the board. And of course, if you prefer security conscious living, you definitely want to check out some of these master plan communities that are gated. Of course, you're going to pay for those gates. Not many are manned. I know River Wilderness has a manned gate, but a lot of other communities, they're just one of those gates that rise and lower. Some of them will offer maybe a little booth, a manned gated area, that if the residents, after it's turned over from the developer, if they want to, pay someone, hire someone to man or woman the gate, they can do that. So that's interesting. And of course, they say that neighborhood level differences exist, like we talked about. Some neighborhoods are going to have less incidences, and others are going to have more of any of this kind of shenanigans. So it's wise to ask about crime trends in specific subdivisions, or even explore local police or sheriff's published data. Now, I will tell you too, remember, in the state of Florida, we are a state that is allowed to defend ourselves and defend our home. And we were talking about what happened in Lakewood Ranch. Unfortunately, when this particular incident happened, it was in a nice community with an active HOA, and somebody was coming through those windows. Now, I don't understand. The lights were on. They knew somebody was there. I don't know what all of that was about. I didn't, research it or anything. That's on you if you want to find out. But in this particular reason, the homeowner heard what was going on, and he had a gun. And, so he was able to defend his family and defend his home. So for those bad characters out, I'm not advocating for or against, guns. I'm just telling you, remember, if you're a bad character and you think you're going to break into somebody's house, this is a state where homeowners can defend their home and their person. I'm just saying. So don't be that bad character. And I will tell you right now, as far as gun owners in the state of Florida, only 35.3% of people are gun owners in Florida. Now, a lot of people think that'd be higher because, Florida, we're kind of, we can be kind of out there with that sort of thing. But that puts Florida at 40th among 50 states, which is well below the national average. So where are there more guns? Well, Montana, Wyoming, Alaska. You're like, why are you talking about guns? I'm just trying to say to you that in this state, people can, definitely protect their home and their families. So it's not wise to try to break into someone's home. Again, if you are a bad character, another thing you should think about, bad actors, is we got a lot of critters in Florida. Why are you walking around in Florida in the middle of the night? I'm telling you what, critters are galore out here. And of course, the number one critter, alligators. According to this information here, alligators pose the most significant risk of harm to people walking around at night. And my husband, again, and I, we were always kind of saying, I don't know what kind of sorry sucker wants to come in our backyard to try to have some shenanigans, because we got a big water lake back there and a big preserve, and we have alligators back there all the time. My husband has taken a picture of a gator in the middle of the road, early dark hours of the morning when he was leaving to drive down to Fort Myers or something. So I'm telling you, people, don't walk around. Don't walk around. There's critters out there. Not only that, but snakes. Yeah. And Florida has seen an increase in the incidences of water moccasins. So I'm just going to tell you what, snakes are out there. When I'm showing houses and we walk around the houses, I am always telling my people, first of all, watch out for red ants. Those red ants, you walk on their little, sandy little things in the yard. They hurt. So that's the first thing I'm like, watch out for red ants. The other thing is, guys, there are snakes here. Doesn't matter what time of the year. We have seen snakes slithering around, bushes out front. So I'm always telling people when we walk around houses, let's be very mindful of snakes, because I don't know about you, but I'm not sticking around to find out if that snake is poisonous or not poisonous. I don't care. I don't want to be around it. And then, of course, the second biggest threat to people roaming around in your yard, trying to cause trouble, are dogs. And a lot of people have pets out here. All of my neighbors have pets. Some of them are little yip dogs, but some of them are killer dogs. So I'm just saying, you might not want to get out there and cause yourself some issues Don't break in. Don't mess with people's cars. For those of you thinking, hey, I wonder what it's like to live in Parrish, Florida, well, you just heard that it is a nice place to live. It's a peaceful place to live, that it has a very low crime rate. And I'm very proud of that. That is one of the reasons that I love Parrish. And I'd like to hear from you. If you live somewhere in Florida, it doesn't have to be Parrish. Maybe you live in another area. It doesn't even have to be these counties of Manatee or Sarasota. Tell me what you think about your safety and your crime rate where you live, because I'd really love to hear your comments, maybe something that you've experienced or maybe someone close to you has experienced. So share those comments below. I'd love to hear those. And again, I'm going to encourage you to do your own research. Whatever area you're moving to, even if it's another state, do your research. Go online, look at the sheriff's office, look at the state, stats that they have on crime or whatever. There are a lot of really good websites now where you can check out that information. You can also ask maybe an AI like a chat GPT or whatever kind of AI that you like. I don't like AI. Creepy. But anyway, so make sure that you check those things out for yourself. And like we talked about earlier, visit some of the local social media pages. So I can tell you around here, there are a lot of different individual Facebook groups about the area as a whole and each individual neighborhood. Now, it doesn't mean you can join all of them because you have to be a resident, and some of them you got to put your address. But sometimes if you send maybe some information to one of the admins of those Facebook groups and you say, hey, we're thinking about moving there. Is there anybody that, we could talk to? But I just encourage you, talk to those people because they live in those communities. And remember, you've really got to take it with a grain of salt because people that have had bad experiences are the first ones to be the loudest, right? The squeaky wheel. And I understand that. A lot of times they mean well. They just want other people to know, to be aware, to watch out for. So there's nothing wrong with that. But you also kind of try to look and see what's the balance here. There's probably a lot of good said along with some of the not so good. So make sure that you are getting the best picture that you can, the most full picture that you can about a certain community. And of course, if you want to talk more about any individual subdivisions here, or you just want to chat a little bit more about maybe what your thoughts are for moving to any of these areas, I would love and be honored to talk to you. Gosh, that's so fun for me. I meet so many of you, and I have the privilege of talking with you on the phone, and then you come down and we get together and we just have so much fun going out there. And so I'm so honored that I have this great group of YouTube channel members here that always pay attention to these videos and reach out to me. It's just fun and I appreciate it. It really does make my day, makes my year. It just really has been a blessing to get to know a lot of you. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Love to chat with you. I'm Catherine Newman. Don't forget to subscribe. I will talk to you next week. See you then. And don't be out there doing any crazy stuff, you heard?